Good evening, everybody. This is Mellissa Thomas with Florida National News coming to you with the nightly news rundown for Tuesday, April 21st, 2020. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us and to check on in and get your quick bites of the top stories for the day. As always, we like to open up with our audience question. Now, this is based off of the most recent news that we've gotten today about the second round of stimulus funding. This is nearly a $500 billion bill that was poised to pass the Senate before it moves over to the House. President Trump is in a big push to approve this one. He really wants this one to go through. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, as well as um, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, they work together to make this possible. Both are on board with this. They're ready to get this moving so that the small businesses can get the funding that they need, while medical hospitals and testing can get done as well. So a quick breakdown of how this is going to work is that $331 billion out of the funding will be the second round for the Paycheck Protection Program. 75 billion of that is going to go to hospitals, to fund hospitals to make sure they have their needs met. And 25 billion will go towards the funding of more testing so that more Americans can be tested for COVID-19. So our question to you is, given what happened with the first round of the PPP, given the rift in the American consciousness about how so many of the larger companies were able to benefit, which is why the money ran out so quickly, do you think this second round should exclusively be for small businesses? And if not, how do you think it should be distributed? Let us know in a comment below, though. We definitely want to know where you are on this, regardless of where you stand economically, politically. Just let us know in a comment below. So going on to our general COVID-19 topics, just a quick update on the numbers. You've probably heard this, but our quick update on the numbers, according to the World Health Organization, as of today, we're at nearly 2.4 million confirmed cases, nearly 163,000 unfortunate deaths due to COVID-19. Here in the United States, over 751,000 confirmed cases, closer to 36,000 deaths. And here in the state of Florida, we're at over 27,000 confirmed cases and nearly 840 deaths. Now, to the point that we were talking about just now with the testing, there's some news coming out today that LabCorp, which is a well-known laboratory and diagnostics testing company that we're all used to. A lot of us, when we do our blood work usually goes to LabCorp for the testing. They announced that they are approving a testing kit to be taken home. Now, for right now, they're making sure to only distribute it to healthcare workers, to frontline workers and healthcare workers, those who have the immediate exposure to the virus. In the coming weeks, LabCorp announced in the coming weeks that they will release their sampling kit for those at home. So that's major news for folks who want to get tested more quickly. Now, on to the drug hydroxychloroquine. Now, this is something that President Trump has been pushing very hard for folks to accept, to be able to use as a drug to fight COVID-19, to overcome COVID-19. Obviously, well known as more of a malaria medication and used in the treatment of lupus patients as well. There was a recent national study of 368 male veterans that produced some concerning results. So of the 368, there were some who were only given routine care, some who were administered hydroxychloroquine in addition to the routine care, and some who were given both hydroxychloroquine and the antibiotic azithromycin. Of the 368 that were studied, 28% of the ones who were given hydroxychloroquine in addition to the routine care passed away. And 22% of them who were given both the azithromycin and the hydroxychloroquine in addition to the routine care passed away as well. The third concerning thing was that the hydroxychloroquine also didn't prevent the need for a hyperventilator when a patient's symptoms worsened. So this was a pretty eye-opening study with regards to that. So definitely we need to keep our eyes peeled and be a little more patient where testing is concerned and where vaccines are concerned, which is pretty much what a lot of the American public is waiting for. A lot of folks really want to have a vaccine that they can trust and use to be able to go back to work, to be able to continue life as we know it. Now, in a bit of related but not directly related COVID-19 news, non-medical COVID-19 news, the Scripps National Spelling Bee has been canceled as a result of COVID-19 for the first time since World War II. That's a huge gap. That's quite a streak in terms of consistency. But unfortunately, due to the virus and the concern for safety, a lot of eighth graders who would have gone on to the national competition, unfortunately, won't be able to make it this year. So now, jumping over to the business side of things, we mentioned the new stimulus package that is passing. Another bit of interesting business news, though, that you may not have heard today, is that the SBA actually announced that there was a possible data breach that they experienced back in March. The AP was reporting this today, that the SBA actually, back in March, on March 16th, they took the system down for maintenance reasons. They wanted to revamp the system. But there are a lot of companies that were in a holding pattern as a result of that, whether they began their process and were waiting for the funds to be distributed, or were midway in their applications. And when they brought the system back up after they revamped it, a lot of those businesses had to reapply. Now, as of March 25th, they brought the system back. And those who were affected by the breach, they have already been contacted, according to the Small Business Administration. Over 7,900 applicants had to be notified that they were affected by the breach. So that was a huge concern there. Now, to date, let me be specific about where the data breach happened. So this isn't with regards to the PPP. This was regarding the disaster loan assistance program. So this is for the folks that were applying for the $10,000 advance. That was the system that was affected by that possible breach. Now, to date, the Small Business Administration has processed over 755,000 applications for that loan advance in the amount of $3.3 billion total as of Monday, and nearly 27,000 loans for $5.6 billion in general. But definitely keep your eyes on the Small Business Administration and watch this space for more updates with regards to that. Now, here in the state of Florida, speaking of business, Governor Ron DeSantis has had a very big push to reopen the state of Florida. So he has his task force, his Reopen Florida task force that he's been meeting with this week, and he split it up into two different meetings. So there are individual work groups that have their meetings in the morning at 10 a.m., and then he has his meetings with the executive committee at 2 p.m. each day, starting with Monday and today as well. Now, the individual work groups have been broken down into the following categories: accommodation, food, tourism, construction, real estate, recreation, retail, and transportation. That's one group. The next group is administrative, education, information and technology, manufacturing, mining, utilities, and wholesale. That's another group. The third group is agriculture, finance, government, healthcare, management, and professional services. So the individual work groups meet at 10 a.m. The executive committee meets at 2 p.m. Governor Ron DeSantis is in a big push in support of the president's push to also reopen the country. He wants to reopen Florida's economy as well. So that is where we are in the state of Florida with regards to that. As we went over yesterday, there were a lot of citizens in their respective states protesting their local governments to reopen their economies as well. Now, jumping over to entertainment, one of the stories you may have been hearing today is that CNN's Chris Cuomo is officially back. He posted on Instagram, on IGTV Monday night, stating that he was finally able to emerge from his basement to reunite with his family, which is something that he had been looking forward to for, as he said, weeks. He was very concerned and kind of missing his family. So congrats to Chris Cuomo for being able to reunite with his family. COVID-19 is quite a virus that is certainly not a joke for anyone who has experienced it. In other entertainment news, and ironically news-related news, that's a thing, Lester Holt of the NBC's Nightly News has officially launched, past tense, his NBC Nightly News Kids Edition for children. They did a test run last Tuesday afternoon. This is a show that runs in the afternoons on NBC's YouTube channel and other digital platforms. So this isn't something that you would see on your regular network television, but on the digital platforms, where he answers children's questions and brings on medical experts as guests to answer children's questions, to simplify the data surrounding COVID-19 and to ease their fears, to explain why they're still out of school, why their parents are forced to stay home. So something that he and the network decided to produce in a way to help the kids have a better understanding of what's going on around them. Now, jumping over to sports. This is some huge news here, both on a positive side and on the negative side. So I'm going to start with the slightly negative side first. Obviously, the world was absolutely shattered when we lost Kobe Bryant in the helicopter crash, and his daughter and all of the other individuals who were in that crash. The news here is that the families who have been survived as a result of that crash are now suing the aircraft company, suing the company that put on the flight specifically. And this is following what his wife, Vanessa, already did 2 months ago. She had already sued the company that put on the flight for them that unfortunately crashed. However, the Associated Press is reporting today that Sunday, several of those families have decided to sue that company as well. So even if COVID-19 has been a struggle, those lawsuits will certainly add a greater challenge to those companies. They have a lot of thinking to do, a lot of rearranging to do. The big news, though, that you probably heard, especially if you're here in Florida and especially if you're a Tampa fan, amazingly, Rob Gronkowski is reuniting with Tom Brady for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This happened as the New England Patriots decided to trade Gronkowski to the Buccaneers, as well as the 7th round draft pick in exchange for a 4th round draft pick in this year's NFL draft. So congratulations to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The fans over there must be losing their mind and are now even more eager to no longer have to stay at home, to be able to return to sports as normal, to be able to return to Raymond James Stadium. Whenever that first game is, that stadium will be absolutely full. Probably standing room only, if that's such a thing, in a stadium. But congratulations to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with that. And speaking of NFL draft coverage, as I mentioned last night, be sure to stay tuned here at Florida National News here on Facebook and on YouTube. So be sure to subscribe to our channel, where our own Casey Hudson, she will be doing special NFL draft coverage each day of the draft. So stay tuned right here as we continue to bring you that great sports coverage. That is it for us here at Florida National News Nightly News Rundown. Thank you so much for tuning in with me. It is always an honor to serve you. Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate you. Take care, guys.